Imagine slipping into a girl's dorm, expecting to get caught and face trouble, but instead finding yourself enrolled in college. This is the story of Noah Harrington, a skilled wind mage now stuck pretending to be a student forever, all while hiding secrets that have nothing to do with learning. Story begins in a peaceful night. We see inside the house, a valuable necklace lies on a cushion. It's bright and gleaming, but in an instant, it's stolen. The guards protecting it shout out, declaring that a thief has taken the precious item and must be pursued. But the man who grabbed it doesn't think of himself as just a criminal. He possesses magic, which he uses to fight off the guards. To the townsfolk, he's a magician and they're right. Specifically, he's a wind mage. His mother's final advice was to avoid using his powers, but she left behind a huge debt. To repay it, Noah has no choice but to use his magical abilities. Noah Harrington is a fixer. Noah is carrying a massive debt of 50,000 gold. After evading the guards, he enters a tavern, where a muscular, bald man resembling a bodybuilder greets him. Noah places the stolen necklace on the table, expecting a hefty payment. Instead, the bald man tosses a tiny pouch of coins to him. Noah is outraged, seeing as it's less than 50 gold despite all the trouble he went through. However, the bald man ignores him, noticing someone else stepping into the pub. It's an elderly woman. She takes the necklace in her trembling hands, her face lighting up with joy. It's all that remains of her daughter, who passed away. The woman offers a basket of breadsticks as thanks, apologizing that it's all she can afford. The bald man reassures her, saying the fixer will be happy to accept it and encouraging her to return if she ever needs help. Noah listens to the conversation, growing increasingly annoyed. He feels he's doing all the hard work while the bald man reaps the praise. But the bald man, his tone serious, warns Noah to stay hidden. If it's discovered he can control mana, he'll be forced to join the army. He advises Noah to clear his debt and avoid making the same mistakes as his father. Noah, however, is looking for a challenge worth his time. To his dismay, the bald man hands him a fluffy wolf plushie. Noah thinks it's ridiculous that this is his next job, but when the bald man mentions it's worth 10,000 gold, Noah grabs the plushie without hesitation. His confidence wavers, though, when the bald man reveals it needs to be delivered to a girls' dormitory at Renee Academy, a heavily guarded place no one can easily enter. Horrified, Noah protests, but the bald man ups the reward by another 10,000 gold. Tempted by the money, Noah snatches the plushie and agrees to the job. On his way out, he looks back and grins, declaring that he's got it covered. Standing on a hill overlooking the academy, Noah realizes this task is harder than he thought. The academy is full of elemental magicians, genius inventors, and powerful summoners. The thought sends shivers down his spine. But the promise of 20,000 gold pushes him forward, filling him with a mix of fear and determination. Even so, he decides to do it, because he only needs to give the teddy to a girl with black hair and red eyes, and then it will be done. He leaps onto the academy's wall, only to encounter a magical barrier. Thankfully, the force field is stretched thin to cover the whole campus, so it's not very strong. Using his wind magic, he blasts through it and sneaks inside. Room by room, Noah searches for the black-haired, red-eyed girl. But to his shock, there are the girls with black hair. Unsure what to do, Noah thinks about just leaving the plushie for them to figure out. But as a fixer, he knows he must finish the job properly. Carefully, he opens one girl's eyelids with shaking hands. Great, they're red. Relieved, Noah starts to relax, but the girl suddenly wakes up and demands to know who the fishy is. Frozen in place, Noah doesn't respond. In a blink, the girl swings at him with incredible speed. He barely manages to dodge. She's stunned that he avoided her attack. Meanwhile, the other girl continues sleeping soundly. Trembling on the floor, Noah tries to explain himself, but the girl refuses to listen. After all, he broke into her room and touched her face. Well, obviously, Noah tries to explain that he's there on an errand, but this only makes the girl even angrier. She misunderstands him, assuming he's there for something inappropriate. Desperate to defend himself, Noah denies it. But before he can finish, the girl sends him flying into the hallway with an explosive spell. Barely avoiding injury, Noah bolts down the corridor as the girl chases after him, wielding a thick book. He yells, pleading for her to listen, but she's convinced he's a creep. Noah knew this job wouldn't be easy, but as he sprints, he quickly skids to a halt, turns back with a smirk, and unleashes a fast-moving wind attack toward her. As the gust races toward the girl, Noah suddenly realizes it might be too strong, but it's too late to stop it. The tornado slams into her, but instead of causing any harm, it doesn't leave even a mark. The girl, however, freezes, shocked to discover that Noah is a mage. She immediately figures out that he must have broken through the academy's barrier using magic. She confesses that initially she intended to capture him alive, but now her plans have changed. A wild grin spreads across her face, making Noah uneasy. She flips open her book and chants a spell, summoning a creature named Jirash. Noah stares in disbelief as a massive, wolf-like monster appears, his fierce eyes locked on him. That's when Noah realizes she's a summoner. The wolf snarls loudly, ready to attack. As the girl introduces herself as Elo, Noah isn't impressed by the timing of her introduction. But stepping closer, Elo explains that she's telling him her name so he knows who will end his life. With a wicked grin, she declares that tonight is the night he dies. Noah, shaking with fear, struggles to process the situation. The beast lunges at him, its jaws wide open. While Noah stands frozen, too terrified to react, he panics, realizing that he's up against a summoner with a bounty of 10,000 gold. Just as he's trapped in his thoughts, the wolf swipes its claws at him. Noah narrowly avoids the attack by leaping to the side, but his shoulder gets grazed. Elo quickly follows up with a fiery spell. Noah dives out of the way, landing face first on the floor. Both Elo and her beast seem surprised by his quick reactions, while Noah feels relieved to still be breathing. As he tries to gather himself, another attack narrowly misses. Noah scrambles to his feet and starts running again, the beast and Elo hot on his trail. He races through the academy, finally smashing through a window and propelling himself into the air. Elo doesn't give up, chasing him with unrelenting determination. While flying through the sky, Noah spots another barrier and dives into the building it's protecting. Shards of glass rain down on him, but he's more astonished that a student could be this relentless. Catching his breath inside the library, he's startled as an elf notices him. The elf looks stunned that someone breached the barrier and demands to know who Noah is. Panicking, Noah apologizes for the broken window, but the elf, wearing a stern expression, says he doesn't care about that. He insists on knowing Noah's identity. Frozen with fear, Noah doesn't answer. The elf disables the barrier at the entrance, allowing Elo to storm in. She quickly explains the situation to the elf, claiming Noah is a creep who snuck into her dorm. Noah yells back, arguing that she's lying. Growing tired of the chaos, the elf uses powerful magic to pin Noah to the ground. Trapped under the crushing weight of the spell, Noah trembles, unable to move. Elo, addressing the elf as headmaster, offers to handle Noah herself. However, the headmaster points out that as a student, she doesn't have the authority to punish him. Ella tries to argue, but the headmaster's sharp glare silences her. He firmly orders her to return to her dorm. Though reluctant, Elo complies and leaves, clearly frustrated. Once she's gone, the headmaster turns his focus back to Noah, beginning his interrogation by asking who he is. Noah tries to lie, claiming he's lost, but the headmaster doesn't buy it. He points out that no one stumbles into this part of the academy by accident. Suspicion growing, the headmaster listens as Noah rambles on, insisting that he's neither a danger nor the creep Elo claims him to be. And honestly, guys, that's not exactly how I'd look at someone who just spared my life. The headmaster inquires about Noah's past, but Noah doesn't respond and instead starts whistling. The headmaster, lifting a teapot, calmly states that he's uninterested in Noah's background or identity. What matters is that Noah trespassed on academy property, which is a serious crime. The headmaster explains that it's his duty to look into violations, but also to discover new talent. The fact that Noah managed to break through the academy's barrier catches his attention. The headmaster offers Noah two options: either enroll in the academy or live the rest of his days as a criminal. Noah pauses, feeling hopeless as he takes it all in. After a moment, he asks if that's truly what the headmaster wants. Noah begins to argue, questioning why the headmaster dismissed his students and is now interrogating an outsider like this. Noah suspects that the offer of enrollment is just a cover for something the headmaster needs from him. He goes on to reveal that he's well known outside the academy walls. To prove his point, Noah uses his wind magic to shatter the library's glass windows. Laughing, he announces that if word spreads about his infiltration, it will only boost his reputation. The headmaster, realizing Noah is sharper than he first thought, asks what Noah wants in return. Noah calmly explains that the headmaster would need to formally request his enrollment and cover all tuition and special expenses. According to Noah, this could be a costly endeavor, so he asks what the headmaster intends to do about it. The headmaster narrows his eyes at Noah, suspicious of his intentions. Meanwhile, Ella storms back to her dorm, mumbling about how close she came to catching the intruder. She's annoyed that he somehow ended up in the headmaster's office. Slamming the door behind her, she startles her roommate. Ella can't believe someone managed to break into the headmaster's office, especially with all the barriers and defenses. She begrudgingly admits the intruder is talented, but thinks it's wasted on someone so shameless. Still irritated, she walks to her bed, fuming about how the interruption ruined her night. What makes it worse is that tomorrow is the midterm exam, and she needs to be in top form. Now, thanks to the intruder, she feels unprepared. As she pulls up her blanket, she freezes, noticing something unexpected. On her bed lies her teddy toy, the one she thought she left at home. Confused, she stares at it, wondering how it got there. Elsewhere in the academy, a classroom buzzes with chatter as students exchange gossip. When Ilo enters, all heads turn toward her. The whispers grow louder as students comment on her arrival. Some of them call her arrogant, referring to her as the future heir of the infamous Seagrand family. Ilo remains unfazed by their remarks, having grown accustomed to them. She knows they label her a snob because they're envious. She enrolled at the academy as the top student in her class, and has consistently ranked as valedictorian. Adding to their jealousy is her family. One student speaks loudly, claiming that the Seagrands were the only family to defy the king and that they're always acting superior. Ilo hears every word but doesn't react. She thinks to herself that if they lack the courage to confront her face to face, they have no right to call her a coward. An explosion erupts under her desk, turning her hands into snakes. The students burst out laughing as it's revealed to be a prank by one of her classmates. Ilo stays calm, unaffected. She is the outsider of the class, constantly drawing attention for all the wrong reasons. Suddenly, an announcement echoes through the hall, instructing all students in the lecture room to head to the arena. No one knows why, and some begin to guess that the lesson might have been relocated. Elo is the first to leave. On her way out, she casts a spell onto the wall. As the other students follow her, the spell activates, turning their eyes into those of a cyclops. One student, outraged, yells at Elo, calling her names, making it obvious she was behind the trick. Meanwhile, Elo arrives at the arena. The supervisor asks about the rest of the students, but Elo stays silent. After a few minutes, the students arrive, clearly furious. The supervisor is shocked by their appearances. Elo hands her a tool, which she uses to reverse the Snake Eye transformation. The supervisor mutters angrily, commenting on the chaos caused by Elo showing up with snake fingers and the other students looking like creatures. She wonders aloud if the dungeon gates might have opened. She fires the neutralizer at the students, restoring them to normal. She warns them strictly, stating that there will be consequences if they misuse magic again. With that, the exam begins. Elsewhere in the academy, Noah strolls down the hallway in high spirits. He has been admitted to the academy and even awarded a scholarship, filling him with joy. Soon, he believes, people will know him as a fixer, and he'll finally have enough work to pay off his debts. He's thrilled at the thought of achieving freedom after graduation. Suddenly, Noah collides with someone. It's a small, adorable creature resembling the supervisor he met earlier. The creature quickly checks if he's all right, but before Noah can answer, it grabs his hand and pulls him along. The creature hurries him, explaining there's no time to waste as they're running late. Noah, confused, has no idea what's happening. He looks at the tiny creature dragging him and wonders where they're going. The creature responds, mentioning that it's exam day, but Noah doesn't know what that means. When they reach the arena, an explosion rings out just as they peek inside. The creature relaxes, realizing they made it in time, but another blast soon follows, making Noah panic. He asks nervously if this is really an exam, as it looks more like a battle. The little guy pauses and then asks if Noah is new to the academy. It hasn't seen him before, and his presence feels odd, especially on the day of the exam. Noah explains that he just transferred in that day. The creature is surprised, as it's rare for new students to join in the middle of the semester, let alone on the first day of an exam. Curious about Noah's inexperience, the creature asks if he knows the rules of the test. When Noah admits he doesn't, the creature advises him to watch the other students carefully. It explains that each student will select a ball from a box, and the ball will transform into a knight. The balls come in 7 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. The knight's difficulty level depends on the ball's color. As Little Guy explains, a student picks a blue ball. When it touches the ground, it detonates, and a knight emerges from the blast. Noah's eyes widen as he spots Elo, the maniac he encountered the previous night, facing the knight in the arena. The creature mentions that Elo is a level 7, making it clear she's likely to pass. It also reveals that Elo is a valedictorian, leaving Noah stunned. Clenching his fists, Noah decides to see how skilled she really is. In the arena, Elo climbs onto her beast, conjuring fireballs in her hands as she charges toward the knight. Mid-charge, she hurls the fireballs at the knight. At first, it seems like they have no effect, but then the knight's armor begins to crack and shatter. Noah, watching in disbelief, feels a chill run through him. He realizes that if he had been caught last night, he might have met the same fate as the knight. Elo, noticing Noah in the crowd, is equally shocked to see the intruder from last night now wearing their uniform. Noah greets her jokingly, referring to her as psycho, but she is having none of it. She blazes with fury while screaming that he must be dying to end their fight from the night before. The supervisor, who is observing them both and disrupting the arena, steps in and scolds her for what she's doing in the middle of the exam. She turns toward Noah and asks if he's a new transfer. Anxious, Noah introduces himself. The supervisor reveals that he's next in line as there are no exceptions for the first day, so he better get ready for the test. She then calls out to the creature accompanying Noah, referring to it as Cootie, and says it's her turn next. Hearing this, Cootie prays under her breath for an easy ball. To her delight, she receives the yellow ball, which she knows is a piece of cake. She tosses the ball onto the ground, preparing herself. Like something straight out of a Pokemon battle, a heavily armored knight with a lengthy sword emerges from it. Noah watches in shock, unable to believe that something like that came from such a tiny ball. Cootie, undeterred by it, pulls out her own attack, which is a small magic cube. As the knight is about to attack, Cootie starts moving the cube and throws it towards the knight. As it hurls toward him, the cube opens up into a net and traps the knight in place. With that, Cootie passes the exam, making her excited. Noah claps for her, saying she's way gentler than the psycho Illo, who just shredded everything into pieces. The supervisor then calls out for Noah's turn, and he's pretty excited about it. Noah confidently steps into the arena while other students chatter about how confident he is even as a new student. The headmaster is also there, watching to see what Noah is capable of. Approaching the box, Noah feels anxious about what he might get. As he fidgets with the magic balls, the violet one floats and swooshes into his hands. Noah is shocked as the ball flies into his hand by itself. As he pulls his hand out, everyone in the arena is stunned that he got the violet ball on his first day. According to the chatter, it's one of the most difficult, even making seniors fight for their lives in front of it. Illo thinks this might be Noah's first and last day at the academy after getting that ball. Cootie covers her eyes in fear while the supervisor is excited, having not seen a level 7 battle simulation in a while. However, she flinches when she notices the headmaster standing beside her, quickly changing her words to say it might be too much for Noah since he's new. The headmaster is also excited to see what Noah has to offer. Meanwhile, Noah is completely confused by all the chatter around him. Noah, looking at the ball in his hands, throws it on the ground while relaxing and wondering why everyone was so nervous about it. As he does, a massive blast fills the arena with the sound of heavy creaking echoing through the air. Meanwhile, Noah is whistling confidently, thinking it's the same size as the yellow ball. However, his expression changes when the creaking doesn't stop, and the knight continues to grow in height. Before long, a towering knight stands in front of him. Noah is in disbelief that he has to face this massive tank of a knight. As this happens, other students start to worry about Noah facing a level 7 knight, fearing it might just wreck him. Noah feels a chill run down his spine. But as he glances at the other students, he realizes there are a lot of eyes on him today. He knows he has to do something. As he's thinking about it, the mighty fist of the Violet Knight swings toward Noah, who dodges it by inches. The knight follows up with another attack, and Noah tries to evade it by sprinting. Despite its power, the Violet Knight doesn't seem to catch Noah, who is pretty fast. However, Noah is shivering intensely, thinking that if the attack had hit, he would have been dead. The crowd, watching the dodging, starts chattering about how fast he is, while Illo is also confused about what's happening with Noah. As they chatter, the Violet Knight swings its massive arm at Noah. He waits for a moment and then leaps into the air to dodge it. The other students are surprised by his long jump. The Violet Knight isn't done yet. It swings its weapon toward Noah, but this time he doesn't manage to dash or dodge, leaving him stuck in its path. Noah, wondering what he's supposed to do in this situation, remembers the moment when his mom punished him for using magic in front of people. Noah, holding a chair above his head, argued with his mom, who worked as a cleaner at a pub. She reminded him that his father had been drafted because he could use magic, so he needed to be careful. Despite her warnings, Noah used his spell on the table, making it levitate. His mother noticed and scolded him for it. She then approached Noah and, to his shock, hugged him tightly, pleading with him not to use magic, at least not in front of others. Coming back to the present and remembering his mom's words, Noah uses his hands to channel a wind portal in front of him, shooting it toward the incoming weapon of the Violet Knight. The force is so strong that the weapon is deflected and strikes the protective force field surrounding the arena, shattering it. The supervisor, seeing this, is shocked that the weapon just broke through the force field. The students standing below the incoming shards of the force field freeze in shock as the sharp pieces hurl toward them. But to everyone's surprise, the shards don't drop. Instead, they start floating in the air. The students are confused, thinking it's a defense mechanism, but one of them is stunned when they realize it's the new transfer student controlling the shards. Noah is using his magic to gather the shards in the air, forming them into a large ball. As he does, he realizes he's used this spell before, but doing it in front of everyone makes him feel like he's betrayed his mother. With that thought, he throws the shards at the knight with all his might, and they pierce straight through it. Landing back on his feet, Noah knows it is pretty late to follow his mom's orders, so he loads up his wind power in his hands, empowering himself. He's surrounded by a glowing aura of wind as the mighty knight stands before him. Seeing it up close, Noah realizes it isn't enough. Meanwhile, the knight's eye flashes as it locks onto Noah, preparing for a powerful attack. Its target system also detects other students, locking them as targets for the attack, and it loads up a harpoon in its forearms. Noah is terrified seeing the massive harpoon. Students also notice the knight aiming at them, wondering if it malfunctioned. As they process this, the knight suddenly fires a barrage of harpoons toward them. They barely manage to get out of the way in time. Noah is shocked and confused, questioning what the knight is doing. Illo and Cootie, equally worried, scream at the supervisor to stop it before they all get killed. Noah, looking at the supervisor, yells that something seems seriously wrong and suggests shutting the knight down. The supervisor, frantically scanning the blueprint, is confused as well, reasoning that the knight's armor should be too thick to be pierced like that. Meanwhile, Noah pulls his hair in shock, struggling to make sense of what's happening at the academy. Suddenly, another harpoon hurtles toward him, forcing him to leap to the side just in time. Seeing Noah struggling in front of the knight, the headmaster wonders if he has overestimated him. Noah stands in the arena, sweating, realizing his only option now is to take the knight down. However, he has no idea how to do it until a thought strikes him. He calls out to the psycho girl and asks her to lend him some of her powerful fire. Illo, full of ego, yells back that it's his exam and he shouldn't be ordering her around. Noah, pointing at the knight wreaking havoc across the arena, shouts that it will take them all down if they don't act quickly. Hearing this, Illo becomes worried and reluctantly agrees to help. She summons a massive fireball in her hands and hurls it toward Noah, while he prepares his own spell. Using his wind magic, Noah creates a whirlwind above him and combines it with Illo's fire blast, amplifying its size before sending it toward the knight. As it strikes, the knight begins to burn from the inside out. Noah clenches his fist, channeling more wind power into the attack. When the flames finally subside, everyone is shocked to see the knight melting and barely holding itself together. It's the new student's accomplishment, and even Noah himself is stunned by what he's done. Realizing the reality of his victory, he cheers for himself in joy. Meanwhile, Supervisor screams in disbelief at the destruction of her prized golem. Noah turns to Illo, giving her a thumbs up and calling it a great team effort. Illo, acting nonchalant, dismisses him as childish, while Supervisor trembles with regret in the background. Furious, she screams for both Noah and Illo to come to her office. As they walk toward her office, the entire hallway erupts in cheers for Noah's victory over the violent knight.